Hey guys, welcome to the Live, Live, Play podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Kinsella, and today I'm with Cara Augustenborg.
I knew you'd joke. That was great though, you did great.
She actually
I said,
said I'm going to joke,
yeah.
and I actually joked. Okay. Cara is Dr. Cara Augustenborg of environmental science. And Cara, welcome to the show.
Thank you, exciting.
So first off, this show is a little bit different because we're talking about climate change and how gym owners and general people can make a better effort in helping the planet, pretty much, because it's not doing so
crisis,
great.
Yeah.
In crisis, it's not doing so well. Crisis,
yeah.
Okay. So, Cara, before we get into this, just give us a little bit of background on you and why you're so passionate about your mission and your goal.
My vocation.
Your vocation.
Or my hobby, depending on. I actually grew up in the States, and when I was a teenager, my parents moved to this place called Hanford, which is the biggest nuclear cleanup area in the world. So it's where they developed the plutonium for the first atomic weapon that was dropped on Nagasaki. And they didn't dispose of this nuclear material very well, so it is leaking all over this desert, and my parents, both for their jobs, were in charge of trying to help clean it up. So I suppose one of the jokes is that anyone who grew up there glows in the dark, because we've probably all been exposed to some radiation. So I guess as a teenager I would have been very aware of how humans can impact the planet and future generations' health on quite a significant scale. So that's kind of what got me into it and got me studying environmental science and engineering in college and grad school, and brought me to Ireland to look at agriculture and environment, because it's a huge issue here. It's also a huge issue in America. And then I liked it so much I stayed.
Okay. And you're again, for people that are listening to this, Cara, as you have your own website that's Cara
CaraAugustenborg.com, but actually if you Google, I know that's really hard to spell, so if you Google the Verdant Yank, Verdant as in green and Yank as in American, I come up on top, so you can find that.
Okay, and we'll put that in our show notes, guys, so you can click the link below. We'll make sure it's there. But also you are a resident on News Talk, and you were on there last night. I've heard you on it before, and you've been on TV. You've gotten around the social media, the media.
The media, yeah. It turns out that there's, I guess, environmental things are becoming kind of more in. Some of that is linked to economic growth. So when the economy is doing well, people they have more money to do the right thing.
Yeah.
So recently it's been a big thing, and I really believe that the battleground for trying to get action on environmental issues is the media, mainstream media or social media or whatever. That's where we have the debates, and that's where people make their decisions on what we should do. So I have a slot on News Talk because it's kind of it's slightly right of center politically radio station, so I think it's good to bring in sort of a left-green view into that, and it's called Down to Earth, and every week we do a different environmental topic, and your request to have me come in to talk about gyms got me thinking about the environmental impact of gyms, which turns out is more significant than I thought, and so we just finished a slot on gyms and how they can do more for the environment.
And that's what we're going to actually start talking about now. So we run a training center. Turns out we're actually on the better aspect of being climate friendly. I wasn't sure about that, but turns out compared to your standard Globo gym, and you've done the research, so the likes of, I know that most gyms, treadmills are on, depending on the length of hours they're open, they're on for 15 to 20 hours per day. If they're a 24-hour gym, some gyms don't, they put them on standby, so they're on all the time. You've got a minimum of 40 to 50 pieces of electrical cardiovascular equipment in the gym at all times. You've got the software, if you have a pool, that's another huge impact to the environment. And I worked in pools for years. I know the chemicals, I know everything that goes on there, and I know what happens when things go bad, and I know what happens when you have to, for example, backwash a pool and how much fresh water you need to replace that. So yes, there is I suppose the flip of the coin, people get to be active, people get to swim, it's good for the community, but then there's also a negative impact, and then where does the balance found? So when you were doing your research, what did you did it shock you to see what was going on with gyms, or? you would kind of go, yeah, I kind of knew that.
I think, I mean, everything has an environmental impact. So we can't say, like, give up gyms because they're bad for the environment, because we give up everything. Like, that's just humans. There's too many of us on the planet, you know? So in that sense, I wasn't surprised. But what I was surprised about is the inefficiency in some ways of a gym, because it's a really big space. It's a really big space to heat and power or keep cool or whatever. And of course, you've all these sweaty bodies in the gym, so you're using air conditioning, you're using heating because you want people to be comfortable when they come in from, you know, a cold outside. And you don't, the gym's not full all the time.
No.
Like, it's empty a lot of the time, and maybe just a few people in it. So that's quite inefficient. So that surprised me. And I think the other thing that surprised me is I'm quite into renewable energy, and every time I'm on the rowing machine, I'm sitting here thinking, I should be charging my phone with this. It's ridiculous, you know? And it turns out there is a big trend now in gyms trying to be green, and they're bringing in this kind of these pieces of equipment that have been either retrofitted or they've been designed to power the lights and everything. And I think what surprised me the most is that actually makes almost no difference. It's really a gimmick that gyms are doing to kind of to make themselves appear green and kind of differentiate themselves from other gyms.
Yeah.
But the reality of how much energy those machines can provide is really small.
Yeah. But even like if you, like as you said, like if our rowers were able to power your phone and you didn't have to charge your phone at night, they're small little changes. No, I don't know if concept or if I even thought of that. I'm sure that it's come across their desk, but I know that everything we have is battery powered, or it's not even battery powered. It will just work through human
dynamo.
Dynamo.
Yeah.
And I know most gyms that have, like, you can get treadmill. Every piece of equipment that is plugged in, you can replace with a non-electrical powered.
Yeah.
And they're just as good. And I know the likes of, I'm not plugging Concept, but Concept machines are the best. They're very, if you maintain them, they don't break. You have a machine for life.
That makes a lot more sense, you know, in terms of payback or whatever, than buying one of these ones that plugs in and helps power the light bulbs or power your phone or whatever. Yeah.
And then when it comes to, obviously, not like we have cleaning chemicals, your basics, Dettol and stuff like that, but like obviously the bigger gyms would have more industrial cleaning elements. And I know that when I did work with a local gym for 4 years, and we did try to find the chemical, because people were walking around the floors, that was the least harshest on the body, but it's still we'd still get people that would be more sensitive and their feet would get infected and rashes and stuff like that, and just those little things. But then when you have mass amounts of humans sweating, you need to make sure it's disinfected really well, because you can get, and it did happen to me, I had to cut my toe. I ended up with a very bad infection from cleaning floors, because when I was cleaning the floors I was wearing flip-flops, and whatever was in the water gave me a very, very bad infection, and actually ended up on antibiotics and everything for it. It was a bit crazy, but that was because, but then we have to do that cleaning to prevent that, but also there's a lot of chemicals.
So and I was really surprised when I was doing my research for this that there was a study based out of Portugal where they went around to gyms and measured air quality, and what they found is because people are breathing a lot harder in gyms, and oftentimes the ventilation in these gyms isn't fit for purpose, they're inhaling even more of these fumes, you know? And it can be the cleaning chemicals, it can be formaldehyde coming off of plastic. So if you have plastic countertops or anything, that's usually made of formica, which has formaldehyde in it, which is a carcinogen. So people in gyms are more susceptible to air pollution. And so you do have to use like effective chemicals, though I mean a lot of things like vinegar and baking soda and that stuff actually are really effective. But at the same time you need to have really good ventilation to try and get those fumes out of the area so people aren't taking them in, you know.
And then when it comes to plastics, and again I wasn't until I read your stuff, so Ireland is one of the top producers of plastic waste in Europe, and we produce more plastic than England, and based on population alone, that is crazy. That we are wasting so much plastic, and I actually felt bad. And normally I would have a drink on my counter, but my plastic water bottle is over there. And it's out of shot of camera.
It will never be in shot again.
It will never be in shot again. And I will be using sustainable and renewable cups. And we've actually, since you were on News Talk yesterday, I was looking into different types of companies that provide water in either cartons that can be recycled or cans that can be recycled rather than the plastic water. Now, that might incur an extra expense on having a water bottle in. We also have water fountains. But yeah, just in our little gym alone, how we do waste, and what we're starting with is we're getting new bins to have a plastics only bin, because despite me saying it's recyclable, people keep throwing the random stuff in with half a cup of coffee in it and stuff. So it's the recycling is making notes. It's not doing anything because we're ruining it.
Yeah.
So we're going to have more so we're going to have more bins and segregation of it, because we need it, and it's something that I want to do. And like, I have a 3-year-old, and I want to teach him that's how we do things. And obviously his generation are going to incur our generation's wrath over what we've done and what we're doing, and so on and so forth. So every little thing we can do at FSM to help is kind of what we want to do.
Well, it's interesting, because I think I was really surprised here in Ireland that 500,000 people belong to gyms. That's 10% of the population, which is pretty significant. And actually we have a really small member to gym ratio, so they're much smaller gyms than like maybe what you'd see in America. So there's a huge opportunity for education. You have this kind of captive audience coming in to do their workout, and actually you have an opportunity to kind of show them how to properly recycle, or tell them, hey, if we keep going like this, by 2050 there's going to be more plastic in the ocean than fish, and get them thinking about those things in a really gentle way. So there's a real opportunity for education, but recycling is really tough to teach people. I used to go to Electric Picnic and stand by bins every September, and it was just trying to get drunk people to recycle. Forget about it. And signposting is a big part of that. Really clear images that where people don't have to think, and they go, oh, I know that goes there, and that's hard. Like, that kind of communication through images and being effective in that is really tricky. But that's what you have to do to have good recycling. But really, anything like water in a package that is going to be thrown away or even recycled is still not as efficient as like a refill station. And I know you have a refill station, but even making it possible that you have a few cups so that people don't even have to buy a package of water, that they can borrow a cup and just have their water here and leave the cup behind or whatever. That's, that actually reduces impact even more, because it takes energy to recycle things too.
Exactly. And that, again, and all these little things that we're looking at, like, I would like to look at, and I would like to implement, and again, signage and awareness and what we do. And because we run such a big kids program, we can have those chats with our kids and set them tasks on that type of stuff. And I know that you mentioned like doing this days out with the gym, and we do workshops and we do fun days and stuff like that. It's always in the gym, but we've never actually like gone out and practiced any of this. Well, it's kind of new to me. I've always known it, like, yes, you recycle, yes, you do this at home, but I've never thought of it as my company can start impacting and helping. And we work with so many people. Well, it's a small number, but like for us, it's a lot of people we work with, and if we can then, like, we educate our kids on mental toughness and respect of everyone in the room, and regardless of ability, so if we're teaching them that, then we can also help them understand the environment. And even we asked them, I think like the other day, half of the kids in the room that day went to the climate change, or did the
strikes,
the strike and stuff like that with their school, which is really good and stuff. So
kids really get it. But I mean, I always think the planet is very like our human body. Like, it breathes, it bleeds, it, it cries, whatever. And so if you're a company that's all about how to really respect your body, then it's a natural progression that you would be saying also respect this bigger body that we
Yes.
depend on. And one of the things that was interesting is that some kind of gyms in the UK are cropping up that are really about going out and doing conservation. So it could be digging a trail or getting rid of an invasive species. And sometimes when I'm in the gym here and we're flipping tires or something, I'm like, I might as well just go become a farmer, because basically that's what I'm doing, you know? And so actually taking those skills that you learn here and all that muscle you're building and putting it to something outdoors, you know, it could be really meaningful.
And that's another thing, and I've said this before in class, and I've said it on different podcasts, is that literally everything we do inside of the four walls that we have at FSM is to make your quality of life better. If your purpose is, if your whole life, your 23 hours designed on this 1 hour you have in here, then you are either wanting to be an Olympic athlete, which an hour is not enough, or I think this is a lot of people's headspace, and I get that. It's away from work, it's away from kids, it's away from all the stress. You come in, you sweat, you're just working, and the stress works and helps the headspace. But I think that the impact of what we're trying to do here is to make everything outside of here easier. So the likes of, and I used to always say that if I'm on the local radio, I always say, go climb a tree. What's the first thing? Go climb a tree. Oh, well, I'm 37 years of age, and so
that's what we learn here.
That's the go climb a tree, because it's firstly it's fun, it's embarrassingly fun, because when you're up there and adults walk past and you're up there and your son's looking at you, and it's a bit fun, but it's slightly embarrassing, but then you're laughing at yourself because you did it. But like going out and doing things, and then if you're going to go out, sure. And I like what they did on Bray Beach was actually
the beach cleaning thing.
The beach cleaning thing, which is
beach cleaning,
or take 3 pieces of plastic,
or tree planting, which we do on Bray Head all the time, and and is hard work. Like digging into the ground takes the fitness that we learn here.
Exactly. So it's a win-win on that aspect, and that's again one of the reasons why I wanted to talk to you, because I don't know enough about it, and obviously I'm learning a little bit more now, and then I can start implementing stuff down the line, and what I can do today, and then what I can do in the coming year, and when we're doing our strategic planning for 2020 and 2021 is like climate and environmental aspects is, well, how are we benefiting and what are we doing, and is this positive or negative towards the greater goal, because FSM's mission is to impact as many people through fitness, but then what else can we teach them through that, and like with health and like even nutrition as well. I know you spoke about nutrition yesterday, and we're going to touch on nutrition today, because obviously meat and the processing aspect of meat and the carbon footprint that it leaves. Now I'm a carnivore. As you've seen on the I tried a vegan burger, didn't go down well, didn't get it. I did try. I will be trying some more stuff tomorrow. When I talk to another bunch of guys from Catalyst who are vegan friendly. But so where, like, you've done some research on that.
It is the issue that I just wrestle with all the time, because I don't generally eat pasta or bread. I don't eat carbs, those kind of carbs anyway.
And a lot of that stuff would be on the kind of vegetarian vegan thing, but then just because you're a vegan doesn't necessarily mean you're a healthy vegan.
Exactly.
So
I don't like processed food, so I wouldn't ever eat that corn stuff, or that kind of stuff that has tons of chemicals in it and it's supposed to taste like sausage but isn't. I'd have no interest in that, and so I tend to have like vegetables and protein, and so I eat meat too. And I know that animal agriculture is like the worst thing you can do for the environment, as an individual. Well, next to flying, right? But but I also, like, this is what my body responds to. This is how I lose weight, So I really struggle with this issue of like, what can I eat that's good for my body, but also not making a huge, anything is going to make an impact on the planet, but not making as much of an impact. And I think the kind of the emphasis on protein, and steaks and everything is maybe, it's probably the worst thing. So there are proteins that are better than others. Like obviously, lamb is the worst in terms of climate impact. Sheep emit the most amount of methane, followed by cows. So beef would be. So there are other proteins like beans and tofu and everything. But I know it's really hard because most animal proteins have all the amino acids we need, and most plant proteins don't. And so but I think it's really interesting, and you would come at that from a really interesting approach of how do you get the balance right on protein,
So for my understanding in nutrition, I think nutrition is just a horrible rabbit hole because it's all individualized.
And it's a really new field too, actually. We know so little about nutrition,
and everyone eats differently, and everyone's body responds regarding on the hormone effect that a food can cause. But with regards to there is athletes out there that claim that they're plant-based athletes and they're big and fit and they're strong, but then that is a very few, and I would kind of go down the road is that they are more genetically gifted to be athletes, and regardless of what they eat, they'll perform. When it comes to meat, I've worked with vegetarians who were kind of vegetarians, and when I got them to start consuming some chicken or vegan food, real food. I'm trying to be politically correct here. The performance went up. They got leaner. They got stronger. And because I know that the benefit of meat eating is good for athletic ability.
Yeah, it's efficient, I guess.
But then you can go down the road of supplements, but then there's a lot of sugar and processing and chemicals and supplements, and despite what all the companies say, they're all pretty much the same. And then what would work for you and what will work for me are two different things. So I could get great results with something, and you might have an adverse reaction that doesn't give you any results. So it's all trial and error. And then to really test someone, I'd have to do a full 6-week protocol, then see what was working, cut everything out, and then start reintroducing. And now no one has those 12 weeks or 18 weeks for me to sit down, and you're not going to dial it in for that long, and it's not convenient. So you're trying to be convenient with people, but how do you then offset the environment or to help the environment and still get your gains? Okay, so that's a hard thing.
That's really hard. And I think we chip away. I don't think, it's like you said with diet and everything, it's all small changes, and the same thing applies to environmental stuff. Like, you're not going to overnight switch from being a high meat eater to a vegan.
No.
So like this week now, because we're doing the nutrition challenge here, I slow cooked 8 chicken breasts on Sunday. And so I've been eating pretty much all chicken all week, but that's better than usually I'd bring in some minced beef or something, and so I'm going, okay, well, it's a bit better than what I do, and maybe next week I'll bring in one vegan meal into that or something. So I definitely try to bring in vegan recipes into my my weekly plan without just saying that's it, I'm cutting it all out, because I think that's when you start to make the mistakes and your nutrition goes down.
And as soon as you cut one thing out of your diet, you're going to see, if you're a meat eater and you automatically cut meat out of your diet, you're going to see ads for meat everywhere. It's like chocolate. It's the chocolate. It's very hard. And I know some people say it's an addiction and sugar addiction and stuff like that. I just think with food, it's habit based. So if you're eating, like, there was a point when I was eating bacon and eggs every single morning.
Wow.
And I think I was in it for years, and I was like, 2-3 years, because the paleo, remember, everyone was mad about paleo, and it's like, we can eat as much fat and as much bacon as you want. I was like, okay. So everyone did, and then everyone started gaining weight, and I was getting bigger, and then I was like, I actually feel like I smell of meat. I just, there's something wrong here. So then I took bacon completely out of my diet in the mornings. Now, if I had it on a weekend, I wouldn't mind, but Monday to Friday, I'd have a breakfast where instead of bacon, I had one more egg, and I'd put more veg in, and then I started feeling better. And then I noticed that at my energy levels, because the body will respond to really good food, but then if you're overindulging on that really good food, like if you have too much veg, if you constantly have too much veg in your diet, your stomach's going to get upset.
Yeah, because you need other things.
Because you need other things to balance it out, and so it's like anything in mass amounts will be bad for you over time. So it's that kind of. It's
becoming an educated eater, I think, and knowing.
And knowing what you can do versus what. So when people say to me, like, we do the red, orange, green, and I know that people in here can eat rice and pasta. I can't eat pasta.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna just like it's like I'm a bit allergic reaction to it. Like it just makes me bloat. And I can't eat rice because it messes with my digestive system. Just feels really uncomfortable when I eat rice. Some people can. That's not fair. That's just the way you're built, and you have to accept that. And then you get people who are nutritionists say, "Oh, you shouldn't be eating this," but if you can get away with it. And it's okay in your system, and it's not increasing your body fat or your visceral fat, or it's not affecting you with your sleep, and you actually feel good when you have it, then I think more power to you. Go do it. You're allowed to eat that. Fair play. But I think there's no one size fits all when it comes to nutrition. And as we've been talking to about environment and nutrition, it's making small changes that can impact better over the coming time will definitely help.
I mean, what's interesting, I did that 8-week exclusion thing, and kind of learned from that what I could tolerate and what I couldn't. But when we did the body scan thing a couple weeks ago, my visceral fat score is really high, like worryingly high, and that's actually given me kind of pause for thought about animal fats, and I'm going, okay, maybe I actually really do need to switch over, because I might feel good, because I'm not eating pasta or whatever, but the scan is telling me there's something wrong.
There's something that's in your diet that's not benefiting. And this is one of the reasons why I got that machine, because of that. And then when we rescan, and if it's coming down, we know that you're on the right course.
Otherwise, I'm going to the hospital.
Or the other way, we're sending you, we're ringing. And I just think that those little things about the human body, because the human body is a machine. Like, if you eat bad food, you're going to produce more methane going forward. Like so when you have a good digestive system, when you're fueling, it is a machine. It's an organic machine, and like anything, it gives off gases.
Put this politely,
It gives off gases, carbon dioxide, and a bunch of other things. So if we fuel it correctly, it's going to be a less impact.
In theory, some people are just super polluters.
Yes, there is. Some could be in this gym. Some days it's not so good.
But there are other things we can do too.
But just kind of getting back to today, if you could give, I don't know, one or two things that someone could do today to impact either their health or their home, to impact the environment, what would it be?
Well, it's a really tough question, because it differs for everybody. So the first thing I say is that people should know, particularly their carbon footprint. That's actually relatively easy to go out and find, and you can go onto like carboncalculator.com or just Google carbon calculator, and there's lots of different calculators where you put in your energy bills and what kind of diet you have and how often you fly, and it'll come back with a number. And in Ireland, the number is about 13 tons of carbon equivalent, like all the greenhouse gases, per person per year is what we emit, which is really high. Like it's up there as one of the highest in Europe. So what we need to do is get it down to 2 to 4 tons per person. So that's a huge drop. That's crazy. Like how are you going to do
13,
that?
Not 3, right?
Yeah, 13 to 2, right?
Yeah.
And that's, I've looked at how to do this, because I want to do this. And even if I go completely vegan and give up my car and stop flying and do, spend hundreds of thousands on my house to get it, super energy efficient, I can get it down to about 6.
Okay.
But that's still not enough, right? And so that's actually where government intervention, and that's where all these strikes are coming from, because it's impossible as an individual to do what we need to do to address climate change. But if the government, what they call decarbonize the grid, so if we move completely away from fossil fuels and we had all renewable energy and we had fossil fuel free transport, then I wouldn't have to make any dietary changes, and it wouldn't matter what my house was like, because when I turned on the lights, it's being powered by renewable energy, and I could get my carbon footprint down to 2 to 4 tons. So that's why this idea of system change is way more important than just individual change. So there's 2 things I say. One is know your carbon footprint and start chipping away at the high things. For me, it was flying. So I gave up a job in Brussels so that I wasn't flying as much. But the other thing is get political, actually, and it's about pushing politicians. And in Ireland in particular, we have very good access to our politicians. And so just if they come to your door saying, what are you doing about climate change? What are you doing about climate change? And I think we're seeing now all these people out striking and protesting, suddenly these politicians who didn't give two hoots about climate change 2 years ago are suddenly saying they care, you know. So I'm really an advocate of political engagement, and you know.
And that's good, and that's not just so if you're listening, that's not an out to say you don't have to do anything till the bigger people do other stuff. That's you still can make changes.
It's top down, bottom up. So I think if you know your carbon footprint, then you know, well, what can I do? Can I give up one flight a year? Can I have meat-free Mondays? Can I do? But it's different for everybody, depending on who they are. And then the other thing is to be really mindful of your waste. And there's really interesting Facebook groups all over now called Zero Waste. So there's Zero Waste Ireland, and there's Zero Waste communities popping up all over Ireland. And they put really good ideas of how to cut down on waste and where you can bring reusable packaging to buy your food or whatever, how you can make your own packaging-free soaps or shampoos. But, it's just getting to think about how much do we throw out and how could we cut that back.
And I know I was only watching this last night of the Bill Gates interview series on Netflix on what he's doing with sanitation. And he's creating these toilets, and he's been working with them for I'm on episode 2 of it, in third world developing countries, that if you go to the bathroom, the waste will be used to firstly create energy to purify the water of the waste, and then you have soil. And he's like, everyone's gone after water, and he's like I have 400 million he's pumped into this. And he's trying to get the initial kind of design was like a €500,000 toilet. And he goes, well, that no one can afford it. It has to be $500 or less. And it was very interesting. And that's his whole mission. He can it's like, I can literally change the world's waste.
I think we're really lucky actually that we are living in a time where there's technology to solve all these things. So we could get all our energy from solar or wind or whatever. We could be using our livestock waste here in Ireland to create energy. So it's all there, but you're right, it's about making it kind of cost effective enough that people can actually buy it,
100%. So guys, we're gonna wrap before we go. Do you have anything to say to the world, my viewers?
No, I think it's really exciting. Sometimes it's hard as an environmental scientist to see, all this bad news about the climate. And this summer they said the Greenland ice sheet is melting at a rate that scientists thought wouldn't happen for 30 more years. So everything is speeding up, and that's quite scary. But at the same time, the interest in this issue is also speeding up, and so the climate strikes were, really a moment of hope for me. And even having things like gyms saying we want to do our part, and other businesses saying we want to do our part, that's a huge sign of hope. So it's great if other gyms kind of take on this idea and start looking around at what they can do, and particularly how they can engage their members and change the world with us.
Guys, so we're going to wrap up today's show on YouTube. Guys, we're going to just be posting the audio because the camera clearly shut down. I heard it. I heard it shut down. I put in the wrong memory card. So we will have the audio on YouTube. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share it with your friends and leave a positive comment. If you want any information on environmental change and more information on climate change, all Cara's links to our website and stuff like that will be on the show notes below. So just scroll down, you'll find them all there. And Cara, thank you very much for being on the show.
Thank you, Stephen.
And because of Cara's show, I can now officially move into Spotify. They'll let me on now.
Woohoo!
Okay. All right, guys, we are out.